I'm Mark Mayfield in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A Texas senator is making light of the Mexico trip that he took when his state was hit by a deadly winter storm earlier this year. Ted Cruz tweeted, "Cancun is much nicer than Cabo." He was referring to Governor Newsom taking his family to Cabo for Thanksgiving. It's the first international trip that Newsom has taken since the pandemic, but Cruz noted it was happening as the state of emergency continues. France and England are looking for ways to stop migrants from crossing the British Channel after 27 migrants drowned. That includes children and a pregnant woman. Their inflatable boat sank on the way to Britain. 2 survivors treated for hypothermia. 1 person is still missing. A second wind farm has been approved just a week after construction started on the first in Massachusetts. Part of President Biden's plan, this one is going to be built off the coast of Rhode Island, with power being supplied to New York. And the clock is ticking closer to Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and for the first time ever, it can be watched live on NBC's Peacock streaming service. We lead local. From the KFI 24-hour newsroom, I'm Mark Mayfield.
In Commerce, this is on the 5 northbound right at Slauson. We have a crash that has all lanes shut down. You're driving back from Paramount. And in Artesia, this is on the 91 westbound at Pioneer Boulevard. A little fender bender there that's taken up the carpool in left lane. Watch for delays as you approach this area. Upland, we have good news. Earlier crash on the 210 eastbound at Campus Avenue has been cleared from lanes. You drive up to full speeds in that area. KFI and the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Brian Van.
We survived winter in Siberia, my mother told me, by literally eating dirt. Hello, I'm John Acoyan, owner of Rooter Hero Plumbing. I can't imagine living like that, but dirt, my mom told me, had nutrients. We are so fortunate to live in the world's richest country, but every day children go hungry. At Rooter Hero Plumbing, we want to help, so we're bringing back our Hero Help program. Before COVID-19, we fed the homeless, adopted families, and cleaned the bay. But our most popular program was handing out canned goods. Rooter Hero will once again hand out food with no questions asked. Simply pull up in your car and we'll help your family. Go to rooterhero.com/herohelp for the date and location. If you want to donate canned goods, call us at 866-77 for a Rooter Hero Plumbing location nearest you. Thank you.
CL 102-8886.
If you love trivia, if you love the hugely popular Stuff You Should Know podcast, then the Trivial Pursuit game, Stuff You Should Know edition, is for you. With 600 questions, weird and unbelievable trivia in categories like myths, legends, and conspiracies. SYSK selects a mix of topics handpicked by podcast hosts Josh and Chuck. Give the gift of trivia this holiday. Find Trivial Pursuit, the Stuff You Should Know edition at your favorite retailer or wherever you shop for board games.
Living with someone who tested positive for COVID-19 in the past 5 days, those 18 and over who are not vaccinated may be able to take part in a clinical trial for a possible medication to prevent COVID-19. This trial is not for a vaccine, and participation is voluntary. Participants will receive study-related care at no cost, and may receive reimbursement for study-related time and travel. To learn more, call 844-461-1936. That's 844-461-1936.
KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk.
See, it's politics. That's all it is. That's all we do. It's politics. There's no decision to be made. In a few minutes, I'm going to the restroom. I'm going to choose some answer. That's a political decision. I may be accused of hyperbole, but how much?
Bill Handle.
Not much.
Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI. KFI AM 640.
I hate retail.
You know, my philosophy is if you can't get it free or wholesale, you just don't need it. There's my philosophy of life.
Costco or nothing.
Let me tell you, it's either on sale or wholesale, or you just don't need the product.
Bill Handle. Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
911 system is totally broken. You call, you're on hold. You get a recording saying the first available operator will get to you. People call 911 and they ask for recipes for cornbread. And what's even worse, the 911 operator,
Bill Handle.
gives it to them.
Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
In your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, high on believing that you're in love with me.
You're listening to Coast AM with George Norrie.
Next hour, we'll take your special calls with Peter Muse as we talk about the haunted areas of New England this Thanksgiving, so make sure you're part of the program. ParanormalDate.com, of course, keeps cruising along. 517 people shy of 120,000 signed-up members. Free to sign up at ParanormalDate.com. And if you're over 60, we've got something for you there, too.
We sure do. If you're looking for that special person who's 60 plus, you know, the holidays are coming, maybe you're looking around or looking around in general, we've taken care of that as well. We've created ParanormalDate.com/seniors for those a bit more mature people. So meet like-minded people. Just head over to ParanormalDate.com and ParanormalDate.com/seniors.
And, of course, before you do, build up your immune system.
HealthyLooking.com and Dr. Alan Millay bring 4 decades of experience in natural products for the exclusive stem cell wellness kit that works with your body's stem cells to assist your immune system. Here's Dr. Millay with more.
Whether it's physical activity, obesity, diet, smoking, low on hormones, stress, sleep disorders, or your age, can be supported by reducing inflammation and aiding the body to heal itself appropriately. A stem cell is a cell waiting to be told what it needs to be. If there is inflammation, that inflammation needs to be stopped. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, kidney disease, various types of cancer, depression, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmune disorders, osteoporosis, even fatty liver are chronic signs of inflammation and can be aided by supporting the body's ability to protect those cells that it needs. And that is the purpose of any stem and adaptogen together, supporting the body to be the best it can be.
Dr. Millay, how will I feel after taking adaptogen and InnoStem?
The InnoStem is going to have an immediate effect, but I guarantee you that your immune system is starting to function better after 24 hours. You put adaptogen along with it, you will feel it in 30 minutes.
Order now at HealthyLooking.com. The Stem Cell Wellness Kit from Dr. Millay protects your body's stem cells and will make you feel better faster. The Stem Cell Wellness Kit with adaptogen and InnoStem and your 3-gift relax valve is only available at HealthyLooking.com or toll free at 800-563-3980. That's 800-563-3980. Don't forget to enter promo code GEORGE for free shipping. Join the Stem Cell Wellness Kit at HealthyLooking.com. That's HealthyLooking.com.
What makes the CC Radio 2E a fantastic radio? It's simple. You tune your average radio to a weekday station and then try featuring CC Radio 2E right next to it, and you will hear a remarkable difference with the CC Radio 2E. This week only, purchase the CC Radio 2E for yourself or someone you care about. Receive $20 off. That's $20 off your purchase of the CC Radio 2E. You can use that for a lot of different things. The CC Radio 2E is one of the best AM and FM radios out there today, and with the 2E, you can hear our show with better clarity. Designed to receive long-range AM and FM stations and make those weak signals very strong. The 2E also gets weather with an alert, which makes for a great emergency radio too. The high-quality audio from the CC Radio 2E can be adjusted so it sounds just like you're in the studio. I recommend the CC Radio 2E from our friends at C. Crane. Got the power and strength to bring in the signal better. Call C. Crane now to get $20 off the purchase of your CC Radio 2E at 1-800-522-8863. That's 1-800-522-8863 or visit them at ccrane.com, C-C-R-A-N-E, ccrane.com.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated price competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much. For your free quote, call 800-519-0447. That's 800-519-0447. 800-519-0447. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. The price could vary depending on your health insurance company and other factors. Not available in all states.
And welcome back to Coast. George Noe along with Peter Reeves. Don't forget, we will have a live program for you on Thanksgiving night, so make sure you're part of the program. One of Peter's works includes Witches and Warlocks in Massachusetts. And as we dive into this, Peter, tell me how you came to write this book.
Sure. You know, there's a lot of witch folklore in Massachusetts. When the Puritans came over from England, they brought over their folklore with them. They brought a lot of folklore about witches, the devil, and ghosts. So those were kind of their main folklore categories. So, when I was studying local folklore, I kept coming upon all these different witch stories. And I really wanted to have all the witch stories in one place. I kept looking for the book that would have, every witch story like this references. I couldn't find that book, so I ended up just basically writing the book I wanted. So I just put as many witch stories as I could find into the book. So it's about 70 different historical accounts, legends, and sort of paranormal encounters involving witches in there, plus a couple chapters about the Salem witch trial. So if you're interested in witches, I think it's a good book to pick up.
What did you think of the Salem witch trial?
So Salem witch trials, well, first of all, I have to say, when I'm talking about witches, I'm not talking about modern witches in terms of, Wiccans or people who honor the earth or work with crystals or herbs or things like that. That's a modern thing. I'm talking about the traditional definition of a witch, which is someone who uses magic to harm another person.
Like the Wizard of Oz witch, that kind of witch.
Exactly. Yeah, Hannibal and Gretel witch, like that type of witch. So Salem witch trials was just a big tragedy. 19 people were executed, that 14 women and 5 men were executed. And there was one man who was crushed to death while being tortured, and several people also died in prison. And over 150 people were accused of being witches in that. So often a lot of people, if they do genealogical research, will find out they were related to one of the people who were accused of being a witch in Salem. So it was sort of, there had been witch trials in Massachusetts before that. That was not the only witch trial here. There have been 5 other women executed between 1648 and 1690.
Oh, well, they burned them at the stake, right?
They were not burned. They hanged witches here in Massachusetts. It was sort of, the English tradition was to hang criminals, so they would hang the witches here. They didn't burn them. So it was, there were something like 83 trials involving witchcraft in New England before the Salem witch trial even happened. Most of those were, people were found innocent, so they didn't go very far, but there were 5 women who were executed before Salem. And so, a lot of places, often there were people who were unpopular for one reason or another with their neighbors. Often had to do with sort of gender roles and the role of women in society at that time. I think the Puritan society was very hierarchical. Sort of, older men were at the top and younger women who were unmarried were at the bottom. And so women who didn't fit into the traditional gender roles often found themselves accused of being witches.
How did they accuse them, Peter?
Sure. So, let's give an example. Let's say, I'm a Puritan, I'm living here in Boston, and I have an argument with a neighbor of mine. Let's say the woman next door comes over and demands that I give her some firewood. She doesn't have any firewood. And I say, no, I don't have enough firewood. She walks off, smiling, like, blah, 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 blah. Right? I think, oh, that's kind of odd. The next day, let's say, my cow doesn't give me milk. Then the day after that, my child gets sick. And the day after that, one of my chickens dies, and I'm like, okay.
So you got a rash of bad luck or something.
Right, and who do I blame? I blame the person I just had the argument with, who walked away muttering, who probably, it might be an unpopular person in the village anyway, because maybe she's too loud, argumentative, flashy dresser, whatever the thing is. And so then if other neighbors also have similar things happen to them after arguing with that woman, so we think she might be a witch. In which case we would go to the magistrates or the judges in town and say, we think this person's a witch, and then there would be an actual trial where this person was put on the stand, and people would testify, with the things that had happened to them. And try to convince the judges and the jury that this person was a witch.
And how many people made up those stories, Peter, because they didn't like the person?
A lot. I think, if you look at the Salem witch trials, a huge number of people were accused. A lot of them were political enemies of one family called the Putnam family. They were sort of the dominant political family in Salem village. So a lot of those people were accused of witches were the enemies of the Putnams or enemies of the Putnams' allies. And interestingly, after the Salem witch trials ended, a lot of the people who accused people of witchcraft or confessed being witches themselves said, we confessed and we accused people because we were afraid of being tortured, we were afraid of going to jail, we were afraid that they would confiscate our property, so we did what we had to do, but we weren't really witches and we accused people falsely. So there's quite a few cases of people saying they accused people falsely. There was a famous person in the Salem witch trial, a slave named Tituba. She was a slave in the home of Samuel Parris, who was the reverend in Salem village. And she was one of the first people she was accused of being a witch, and then she also accused other people of being a witch, basically to save her sin. And
she ratted on them. You're basically saying she ratted on them.
She did. And then when the trials were over, someone went to jail where she was and talked to her. She said, I did this because Samuel Parris, the reverend, he beat me viciously unless I was to accuse other people of being witches.
Oh my gosh.
So, there was a lot of politics behind it that was leading to these huge numbers of people being accused of witches. And plus the judges who were overseeing the Salem trials, who, some of them legitimately believed there were witches in Massachusetts, they made some decisions that allowed the Salem trials to really grow to this huge size. And one of them was that anybody who pled guilty and named other witches, they were not hanged. So if George, you're accused of being a witch, you go on trial, you would say, I'm guilty. And here's some other people who are witches as well, like
Peter's a witch, Peter's a warlock, all that
right,
stuff.
Exactly, right. So you would be saved. You might go to jail, but you would be executed. But then if someone was put on trial and said they were innocent, then you basically told the truth and said, I'm not a witch, I'm innocent, I don't know what you're talking about. Those were the people who were hanged. So the people who told the truth and said they were innocent were the people who were executed, were the people who basically lied to save lied to save themselves. Those are the people who lived. So kind of a weird, mixed up, reverse version of how justice should operate.
The paranoia must have been incredible.
Yeah, right? It was terrible. And finally, there were always some people who were opposed to it. It went on for about a year, the Salem trials, probably 10 months. And there were some ministers in Massachusetts who kept saying, this is crazy, they can't be this many witches here, something's wrong here. There were some political leaders who said the same thing. But really, it was not until the late fall of 1692, when the governor's wife was accused of being a witch, that everything was shut down. The governor's like, we're shutting this down. You accuse my wife of being a witch. I'm going to listen to these other ministers and other people who've been telling you that this is all. Yes, basically.
Well,
when it was shut down.
Obviously, how many people did you say were killed?
19 people were executed and one person was killed during torture.
And I would assume all 19 were innocent because they weren't what we call witches.
Correct. They were not witches. They were not, right. There were no witches in Salem.
Unbelievable. And it took the governor's wife to be accused to stop all of this.
Yeah, that was the last straw. I think that's when he said, I think these other people are not the criminals who are running these trials.
It must have been horrible for family members who lost their loved ones this way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there were some, after the trials ended, there were still people in Salem who were, had seen their relatives executed, and living next to people who were falsely accused their neighbors of being witches. And the cultural attention, a lot of people in Salem actually moved out. They moved to Ashland and Framingham, which are kind of west of Salem, and there's an area there called Salem End Road, which is where a lot of the basically refugees from Salem settled. And there's some caves there, some small caves called the Witch Caves, because supposedly some of these refugees from Salem slept in these caves before they were able to build their houses. They're kind of, sheltered in these caves while they were building their permanent homes there. One of their houses is still there. Looks like the Elizabeth Clace house. It's an incredibly old house, but it was built by a refugee from Salem after the trials ended.
What is it about Salem that created all this activity about witches? Why not other areas in the New England area?
It's a good question. I think it has something to do with Salem and something to do with the time as well. So Salem was, at the time, it was a pretty big geographic area. So there was Salem town, which was like the prosperous kind of port part of Salem, which is right by the harbor. Merchants and fishermen and that sort of stuff. Then further inland was this smaller place called Salem Village. And that's where the witch trials really started, with Salem Village. And people in Salem Village had a lot of political division. A lot of them wanted to break away from Salem town and form their own communities. But other people in Salem Village wanted to stay connected to Salem town because it was the richer part of the area. So there's this political fighting there going on. So it was kind of a fractious little village. There was only like 90 households, so there was a lot of infighting. They had a lot of trouble keeping ministers. Like ministers would come, and the minister was very important at this time. But ministers would come, they stayed for a year or two, they quit. The ministers would come, but people would refuse to pay them because they didn't like them. This went on and on. So finally they got this minister, Samuel Parris, and he had failed at being a merchant. He had failed at running a plantation. Like, he had just lost in a bunch of other careers. So this was his last chance. So he was a minister in Salem Village, which was this politically fraught place. At the same time, so in the 1690s, the Puritan colonies were under attack by the Native Americans, primarily up in Maine and New Hampshire, but also in the western part of the state. And so, the Native Americans basically wanted their land back, and they were also allied with the French Canadians. And so they were burning the English settlements in Maine and New Hampshire and just, massacring the people up there. So a lot of the refugees from Maine and New Hampshire fled south and they were in Salem. And these people were telling these horrible stories of, seeing buildings burned and people being tortured and killed and all this stuff. And the Puritans really thought that this was the devil's attempt to overthrow the Puritan colony. They didn't see it in a purely political sense. They saw it in a religious sense. So they're like, the devil is trying to overthrow our colony.
Working through the witches, I guess.
Yeah, so, working through the witches, and so they thought it was the moment. People were stressed by the Native American attack, they were stressed by the politics, and so they were just looking for somebody to blame, somebody they could, act out on. So they turned on themselves, basically.
What is it about New England that makes it stranger than other parts of the country?
That's a good question. I feel like if you look at the three major horror writers, the three most important horror writers in the world, all came from New England. So you have Edgar Allan Poe, who was born in Boston, he grew up in Boston, he lived here until he was a young man, then he left to uptight and conservative, so he went south. So you have him. Then you have H.P. Lovecraft, who's kind of a problematic writer, but a very influential writer, grew up in Rhode Island. And then you have, of course, Stephen King, who lives in Maine and is born in Maine. So those three all came from New England. So there is something here, I think, that inspires people that is a little weirder than maybe other parts of the country. I think part of it is that it's just an older part of the United States. And, when the Puritans came over from England and settled here, they came over in the early 1600s. So, Plymouth, as we mentioned, is 1620, was when it was founded. Salem founded in 1626, Boston founded in 1630. So these are old places for the United States. And those Puritans who came over, that's the Renaissance, really, when they came. These are folks who could have, seen Shakespeare's plays performed live on stage for the very first time. Like, oh yeah, I saw the premiere of The Tempest. Now I'm going to go set up a colony in New England. Like, it was a very different worldview, like a magical worldview. Versus you think of people like Benjamin Franklin, who was much more scientifically minded. About 100 years earlier, it was a much...
You still there? I think I've lost you. He is gone. So we'll get Tom to get him back in and find out where we can get you back. Let me try one more time. Peter, you there? Nope. Okay, we'll get Tom to get you back on, and we're going to have calls for the next hour, but he's been talking about legends and mysteries and folklore, and some of the strange things going on in New England, to be sure. And his books include Witches and Warlocks in Massachusetts, Legends and Lore of the North Shore, Magical Folk of British and Irish Fairies. Those things are fascinating, too, and then Real Witches of New England. He's put a lot of that together, and truly remarkable. Remarkable indeed. Peter Muse, his website, newenglandfolklore.blogspot.com, which is linked up for you at coasttocoastam.com. And we should be able to get him back on, and let's give him a try. Peter, you there?
I am here. Sorry, I think I hung up on myself.
Oh, is that what happened? I thought maybe your battery died on you or something like that.
No, sir, I must have hung up on myself. Sorry about that.
You missed a call where somebody called you a witch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But well, we were talking about the area of New England, what makes it so strange, and it is truly a bizarre place, isn't it?
There's a lot of weird folklore here. There really is a lot of weird folklore. And I'm not sure, again, part of it is because we have more folklore to be weird about. You know, I mean, we have 400 years of history where you can just look at weird stories going back to, 1620 up to 2022, right? Looking to the future. I mean, people still encounter strange things here, just like they do all across the country. So.
All right, Peter, let's take some phone calls and continue talking when we come back. I want to talk with you about some modern witch legends that you can talk about, and also some creepy haunted sites that are out there that you know about: the Gilson Road Cemetery, the Ramtail Mill Complex, the Freetown State Forest as well. So we'll talk about all that and much more. Peter's back with us, so we will open up the phone lines as well. If you live in the New England area and you've got a haunted story or you have a question, jump aboard.
Find out more about tonight's guest. Log on to coasttocoastam.com.
As parents, we've done everything we can to keep our kids safe, happy, and healthy during this pandemic. From finding the best face masks to making sure their hands are clean. And now we have the best tool to help keep them even safer. The most important thing we can do is vaccinate our kids to protect them against COVID-19. Vaccines have been proven safe and effective for children 5 and up. Talk to your child's doctor or visit myturn.ca.gov to find a vaccine near you. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
If you love trivia, if you love the hugely popular Stuff You Should Know podcast, then the Trivial Pursuit game, Stuff You Should Know edition, is for you. With 600 questions, weird and unbelievable trivia in categories like myths, legends, and conspiracies. SYSK selects a mix of topics handpicked by podcast hosts Josh and Chuck. Give the gift of trivia this holiday. Find Trivial Pursuit, the Stuff You Should Know edition at your favorite retailer or wherever you shop for board games. Contractor license 1047-781.
Hey, Ken and Winnie, what Rick told us is pretty cool.
It's Ken. You know it's Ken. I need to hear you say Ken.
Rick runs Gettle Academy, where we train plumbers and AC techs.
Rick told me stuff that made me so happy I had to wipe tears off my cheeks.
A student said, I knew working at Gettle was going to be a great opportunity, but I didn't know it was going to change my life.
That's what it's all about, Wacky Zacky.
When you work at Gettle, you know you matter.
You know you're making a difference.
Your customers and your coworkers love to see you coming,
and they miss you when you're gone.
Other companies expect you to upsell the customer.
But Gettle Techs have only one job. Make the customer happy they call us and trust us to fix their problem.
Ken sits down with all
all the new people once a month and talks about the future, and answers all their questions, and learns all their names. I sit down with everybody once a month just to hear what's on their mind. Come to work for Joe, GOE-TPL. You'll be happier than you've ever been.
Serving family drama as a side dish since 1621. Happy Thanksgiving.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. It's time for your morning wake-up call. Here's Amy King.
Good morning. This is your wake-up call for Thanksgiving, November 25th. I'm Amy King in for Jennifer Jones-Lee, who may be up already starting to cook that bird. Here's what's ahead of on wake-up call. Up to about 30,000 homes and businesses are at risk of losing power today. Gusts from between 40 and 60 miles per hour are possible in LA, Orange, and Ventura County, and also the Inland Empire. Another big smash and grab robberies happened at the Nordstrom in Canoga Park. 5 guys rushed the store, broke display cases, and took off with armfuls of pricey purses. The first gray wolf to make its way down from the Pacific Northwest to Southern California in about 100 years has been found dead, apparently hit by a car. At 5:05, we're going to be talking with ABC's Aaron Petersky live from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which gets underway in less than an hour. But let's start with some stories coming out of the 24-hour KFI newsroom. Thanksgiving Day parades across the country put extra precautions in place following the massacre at a Christmas parade in Wisconsin Sunday. Fans in several cities may notice extra security measures in place to block off parade routes, and others, like in New York, Philadelphia, and Detroit. Many parades in Wisconsin have already been canceled after that driver rammed his SUV into the crowd, killing 6 people and injuring more than 60 others. We're going to find out what security is like in New York City for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade when we talk with ABC's Aaron Petersky in just a couple of minutes. The parade steps off in less than an hour in New York City. The annual parade's going to be back full force this year after being scaled down last year because of the pandemic. Remember when there were no crowds allowed? Weird. For the first time, the parade is being live streamed on NBC's Peacock streaming service. So if you don't want to wait until 9 o'clock to watch it on NBC, you can watch it live starting at 6. But if you want to do that, because then you wouldn't be listening to us, right? There's going to be celebrities, there's going to be songs, floats, marching bands, and the giant balloons held down by hundreds of balloon tenders. There will be 28 balloons this year making their way down the parade route. 6 of them balloons are new this year, including probably my favorite, Baby Yoda. CHP is going to be stuffing drivers full of citations if they gobble any alcohol and decide to drive this holiday weekend.
During the Thanksgiving maximum enforcement period from Wednesday through Sunday night last year, CHP Southern Division Officer Jose Barrios says almost 900 people were arrested for DUI.
It's a huge number considering, we have all these options, rideshare, cabs, metro, designated drivers.
He also says 33 people were killed and none of them were wearing seatbelts.
The numbers show people that are getting involved in car accidents, half of them died because they were not wearing seatbelts.
Barrios says cops will be out looking for seatbelt violations, speeding, and especially DUI. In LA, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
The CDC says it's predicting a major increase in COVID-19 cases over the next few weeks. Nearly 15,000 Americans could lose their lives to COVID in the next 2 weeks, with the country reaching a staggering 800,000 before Christmas. CDC's Ariel Resheff says nearly half of the states across the U.S. have had an increase in hospitalizations with people getting serious COVID symptoms. Thieves have pepper-sprayed security guards and stolen designer handbags from the Nordstrom at the Topanga Mall in Canoga Park. LAPD says at least 5 guys ran into the store around 7 last night, grabbed some high-end purses worth about $25,000, then took off in a red Ford Mustang. The security guard was taken to the hospital to be treated. A 17 and an 18-year-old have been arrested for an alleged smash and grab at a restaurant in Loma Linda.
Investigators with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department say the 2 teens went into the Chapter 2 California Kitchen Thai restaurant and took cash from the register and stole personal property from the employees. Then they took off in a car. Deputies say on Tuesday morning, just before 11, restaurant employees flagged them down, and police were able to catch up to the guys, and after a brief car chase, the teens crashed into other cars, jumped out, and ran off. They were caught a short time later. The 17-year-old was booked and sent to a juvenile facility with 0 bail. The 18-year-old was booked on $325,000 bail.
He's Gregory, Kfi News.
A special smaller than usual edition of Comic-Con is making a return to San Diego. Organizers say the Thanksgiving weekend event is deliberately smaller than normal because of COVID-19 restrictions. The last two events have been virtual. Comic-Con is usually held in the summer and attracts about 135,000 people. And at last check, there were still badges available for the event this weekend. Normally doesn't happen. It usually sells out really quick. When we come back, we're going to be talking with ABC's Aaron Katurski live from the Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. But right now, let's check a crash in Ontario on the 10.
It's westbound at Haven Avenue. That crash blocks the two left lanes. You're stopped to go from Milliken. Orange, earlier crash on 55 northbound at the 22 Garden Grove Freeway. That is cleared. Also cleared an earlier crash on the 91 westbound at Pioneer Boulevard. That's in Artesia. In Gardena, you've got a crash now on the 110 southbound at El Segundo Boulevard. That blocks the off-ramp. And headed to Commerce, the 5 northbound from Slauson Avenue to Garfield. Had an earlier crash in that area. That has cleared, but you're stopped to go from Lakewood Boulevard. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Dave Joseph.
8505 on your wake-up call. Now let's check in with ABC's Aaron Katurski, who should be in a very peckish mood this Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Amy.
How's it going in New York City?
We're excited for the 95th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It was unsatisfyingly virtual last year, so to have everybody back in person is really, I think, giving such a good energy here. The marching band's kind of warming up behind me here a little bit. Dancers, cheerleaders, balloons have been unmeshed, and they'll be ready to soar at full height against the terrific blue sky backdrop. Sun's up, illuminating the yellow and red and orange leaves along Central Park West. So it's just a picture-perfect day for a parade.
That's good. Is it windy today, though?
Not at all. Almost no wind to speak of. So the balloons should be able to soar at full height through the concrete canyons of Manhattan. Ada Twist, scientist, is one of the new balloons. She's right here out front, somewhere in the... What's that?
Isn't that from the Netflix show?
Yes. If you say it is, there's also a baby Yoda somewhere in this crowd, and then the traditional Snoopy Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm staring up at the Jolly Green Giant float. He's holding his annual allotment of corn, and all of his handlers are wearing masks in a nod to the times we're living in. Every parade participant's got to wear a mask and be vaccinated. So it still shines that we're not fully out of it, but just to have the parade back, I think is a good sign.
Are people on the parade route wearing masks too, or is it just people participating?
No, some aren't. It really sort of depends. There's no real requirement or way to police it, but they're like 10, 20 people on the sidewalk. They're expecting millions of people to line the 2.5-mile route. After the absence of an in-person parade, I guess people are just excited to be back out.
And the parade starts in about 50 minutes for you. And
Yeah.
and this year they're live streaming it for the first time. So if we want to watch it live on the West Coast, we can.
Oh, is that right? That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, NBC's doing it on their Peacock network, so that's kind of cool. So what's your favorite thing about the parade, Eric?
I just like the mood. You know, we so often talk about horrible things. So I look forward to this every year, to just looking at the spectacle of it all, the colors, especially on a nice day like this. And I've been out here when it's like 5 degrees and snowing. That's not nice. But but this is terrific.
Yeah, and so what was the least favorite parade? Because you cover this every year, right?
I've done it a lot of years, more than I care to count. And it's impossible not to like it because everybody's smiling.
Yeah.
There are celebrities. Jonathan Batiste was just out here chatting with him for a bit, fresh off his 11th Grammy Award. And even he, even celebrities seem to be impressed by the spectacle.
I think it's going to be really cool to watch. Yeah, I watched it last year, and it's like watching a football game with no crowd from the stands. It's not the same thing when you can put the sound effects in there, but it's just not the same.
No, you need to have the energy and the life that the crowd brings. And, as I was walking over, just to see everybody bundled up, some had folding chairs, some had sleeping bags,
Everybody had a thermos of coffee. So they're ready. They're dug in, and they're waiting for these fans to fire up for real. I see a bunch of dancers on a turkey float. Tom's turkey is in his usual place, with his metal wings that'll flap on command. So we're ready.
All right, and you're ready in about 50 minutes, and I know you got to get going because you probably need to stake out your perfect spot.
Happy Thanksgiving, Amy.
All right, thank you so much, Aaron. Enjoy your time out there. That's just one thing I've never been to Thanksgiving parade, obviously, I've never been to the New Year's Eve thing. I have no desire to go sit in a house like that, but it sounds like super cool, super fun. I've been to the New Year's Day parade, the Rose Parade, and if you haven't done that, I think we're a little over a month out on that, and are they doing it this year? Alex, are they doing the parade this year? Yeah, I think so. Okay, well, if you haven't been and you can make arrangements to go, it really is a cool experience. Getting up really early on New Year's Day, but it really is a cool experience. Okay, so let's get back to some of the stories coming out of the 24-hour Kfi newsroom. We have a high wind warning, probably a good thing those balloons are not flying here in Southern California today. We've got the high wind warning in effect until 9 this morning. We've got wind advisories up until 3 or 6 this afternoon, depending on which area you're in. The National Weather Service says it means 30 to 40 miles an hour can be expected below the pass levels in canyons from Malibu to the Hollywood Hills. And there could be wind gusts up to 65 miles per hour in some areas. Similar conditions are forecast for the Phoenix and Nevada. Evacuation orders have been issued for homes in Riverside County because of a brush fire burning in the city of Riverside. Firefighters had gotten a handle on the fire earlier, but it jumped containment lines last night and is burning some mold. The evacuation orders are for homes near Loma on Valley Drive between Misty Ridge Drive and Mitchell Avenue. Of course, lots of people traveling for the Thanksgiving weekend. I saw something about 3.8 million people are supposed to hit the road, and from Southern California around. And from Southern California is going by air, like 500,000. So the TSA is getting ready for a very busy weekend.
The TSA says it's Sunday to be the busiest travel day of the year as people head home, with an estimated 2.4 million passengers catching flights.
Industrial Commentary says the TSA has screened more than 2 million travelers every day this week. TSA is encouraging anyone flying for the holiday to get to the airport super early because it could take a while to get through those security checkpoints. An annual event in Pasadena has fed families for Thanksgiving despite the pandemic setbacks.
People came by and picked up fully cooked food as volunteers worked hard to pack it into boxes.
I just